It's impossible to be around John Gentry and not get excited about the idea of the people taking back their house, taking back their government through the General Assembly. His name is John Gentry. We've had John on once before, and I so appreciated the conversation. And considering that we've got 6 days to go before the election culminates on November 5th, we thought we'd have him back on. John, if you do not know, is running as an independent against Farrell Hale in Senate District number, let's see if I can remember this, 18? 18. John Gentry joins us in studio. Hello, John.
Hey there.
I hope you had a good time last time you were on. I had a fabulous time.
Absolutely enjoyed our conversation, and the listeners out there enjoyed the conversation. I got a lot of great feedback and drove a lot of traffic for me out there.
Well, you are running in the 18th District as an independent. Tell folks why you made the decision to run as an independent, and a little bit for those that might have missed our conversation last time around about your background.
So my name's John Gentry. I'm running for state senate for Sumner and Trousdale County, District 18. And you know, the big part of my work is about taking down corruption in our state government. And to do that kind of work, I have the background. I was a certified public accountant for 20 years. I'm an expert in forensic accounting, fraud, waste, and abuse. And I was a Force Recon Marine for 8 years. And so I'm as tough as nails, and I stand up and defend the Constitution and the rights of the people. But I've been working on reforming corruption in our state government for almost a decade now, in both our legislative branch and our judicial branch. And what I've come to learn is that government is not going to reform itself willingly. It's going to have to come from the people. And so what I'm doing is I'm teaching the people how to take back control of our government, literally, how to directly participate in government, how to propose our own laws to the legislature where they do nothing about problems like school shooters or illegal immigration. They say it's a federal issue and they can't do nothing. We can address these issues. And so what I'm doing is I'm showing the people how to assert rights that are in our state constitution and take common sense solutions to our legislative houses ourselves.
And you kind of, your candidacy is a demonstration of kind of, as they say, putting your money where your mouth is with regard to taking the people's house back, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In our state constitution, Article 1, Section 1, all power is inherent in the people. And we have at all times a constitutional right to reform the government. And the founders put the process for how we reform government is in Article 1, Section 23. It says citizens have a right to instruct their representatives and to apply to those invested with the powers of government by address or remonstrance. So literally a constitutional right to make an application to the legislative houses, and we can make that application by address. That is literally every citizen out there listening, orally addressing the legislative body. It is an incredibly powerful constitutional right. And I am literally the first person to exercise this right since 1850. I went down to the Tennessee Archives Library. I learned the process. It is as simple as can be. You write up an application. It looks basically like a letter. This is what we want government to do or stop doing. You can go around and get signatures, or it can be just your signature as a citizen. You give that to your representative. He files it with the clerk. So when I filed my first one, it was with Representative Bud Halsey out of East Tennessee. Mm-hmm. This was announced on the floor of the entire Tennessee House of Representatives, the entire legislative body. Mr. Speaker, I'm approaching the Tennessee House on behalf of Mr. John Gentry involving a petition of grievances. And then they listed them out. One of them was judicial reform. And as a result of that, they vacated the entire Tennessee Board of Judicial Conduct, almost a dozen corrupt judges, threw them out of office. And then they reorganized that agency to finally provide some objective oversight of our corrupt judicial branch. And so what I'm doing here, Matt, is I'm teaching the people how to exercise the right to reform, the right to instruct, the right to apply to government. And in Section 31, it literally says the people have the right to exercise sovereignty. That's the power to make law. Mm-hmm. The people have that right. And to my knowledge, we're the only state constitution that has that right. So I'm going to show the people how to exercise these rights. And I wrote up proposed amendments to the Tennessee Constitution to put in place term limits for all judges, senators, and representatives. And I'm going to get the majority of the people, at least 4 million signatures, to co-sign this with me. And I guarantee you, because of the work that I'm doing, it will be announced on the floor of the House. So can you imagine this? I go out and I get 4 million signatures, and it's announced on the floor. Mr. Speaker, I'm approaching the Tennessee House on behalf of the majority of the people of the state, asserting their right to reform government, instruct representatives, and exercise sovereignty, demanding term limits. What are they going to do then, Matt? Are they going to say no?
It is impossible, and I remember experiencing this the last time you were on. It's impossible to be around John, and I'm just going to speak to the audience about you while you're here. It's impossible to be around John Gentry and not get excited about the idea of the people taking back their house, taking back their government through the General Assembly. Or you think that people are ready to put in the work that is necessary to kind of seize back some of that power and control? I think it's a natural thing that when politicians get power and control that they want a little more of it. And so it's natural that that power and control coalesces in Nashville in this instance in the State House. But you point out rightly that per the Constitution of the state of Tennessee, that right rests with the people themselves. So are we ready to take that back in the way that you're talking about?
Absolutely, the people are ready. The people are craving. Right now, they feel helpless. They're craving a solution. And you know, a lot of people are looking to President Trump and praying that he's elected. I'm one of them. But there is no knight in shining armor that's going to come to save us. It's going to have to come from the people. But when I go back and I went out to over 4,000 homes knocking on doors, and I told them the same thing. Like, can you imagine this being announced on the floor? Man, I can see the American spirit waking up in their eyes. I literally can see it in them, that the smile and the pride comes back into them. The people are just looking for a way, and they don't know how, and so we trust in who we're elect is going to be the next solution. The elected are never going to be the solution. It has to come from the people, and they want it. I know they do. I've already had thousands of people co-sign this application for term limits. But what I'm doing with this, you know, all of us are complaining, you know, the government is doing nothing about the problem of school shooters, nothing substantial, nothing concrete. Mm-hmm. They want to abuse power with more red flag laws and garbage like that. This is how we come together as a people, exercise the right of assembly, which is not about street protests. It's about talking amongst ourselves. What do we want government to do or stop doing? And then we present those common sense solutions by address to the legislative bodies. And when they say no to common sense solutions, we know who to vote out the next election.
Well, that's right. It's getting it down to where the goats can graze on it and making sure that they get on record through the force of the people, the will of the people. You mentioned this constitutional amendment. You brought me a copy of it. And how would this work, term limits?
So I'm going around already and collecting signatures. This document is on my website. There's a resource document page on my website, and you can download it and
tell everybody the website real quick.
And what the website is We the People, V as in Victor, 50.com. So We the People, V50.com.
Very good.
And you know, the first part of that is justification. You know, whereas self-government is preferred over professional politicians, whereas term limits will provide more opportunity for common citizens to participate, whereas these entrenched politicians bear more resemblance to a ruling class than a representative legislature, where power tends to corrupt and absolute power tends to corrupt absolutely. So those are the justifications, you know, and I'm very obviously, you know, whereas the executive branch is limited to terms, the judicial and legislative branches should also be equally limited. And so the process, I'm going around and collecting signatures, and I'm going to get about 4 million of them. And I've already proved that we have this right, having 2 remonstrances announced on the floor of the legislative houses. And since I've taught this right, 6 other citizens and groups of citizens have exercised this right since me. And the legislature, because I've taught them, they know what to do now. When a member receives an application or a petition, he files it with the clerk, and the clerk announces it on the floor. And so it is a simple process. We just get the majority of the people to say, I want term limits, and I'm not asking, I'm asserting my right to instruct my government and to reform my government. And if it's the majority of the people, and we all know it is, we have the right to exercise sovereignty.
Now, you can do this exterior to your candidacy as senator.
And whether I'm elected or not, I'm going to do this, but I'll tell you what, it'll be a whole lot easier. You know, if I come on here on your show and other shows across the state and say, my name's Senator John Gentry, and I cannot do this alone, I need you to sign this with me, I think I'll get a lot more people to sign a lot more faster.
I mean, and that begs the question then, how can you best work inside the system to reform the system? And you kind of just answered a little bit of that there. You're asking for people to vote for you for Senate District number 18. You want to get into the system to try to what? To help people understand how they can better see appropriate representation in their own individual districts through these types of methods?
I'm restoring the republic is what I'm doing. The Black's Law Dictionary definition of a republic is that form of government where the administration of affairs is open to all citizens. That's what a republic is. That's what a government of, by, and for the people is. And so I'm teaching what hasn't been taught in our schools, rights in our state constitution. And the heart of my work is that when I'm gone, it isn't going to matter who's elected, because the people are going to be back in charge, and they will know how to take back control of our government and how to propose laws and common sense solutions ourselves.
I'm just I'm looking at some of the responses you're getting in real time on the super text line, and these are they. Matt, how do we co-sign the letter that Mr. Gentry's talking about? That's from 2898. Brian writes, I'm in. John Gentry, sign me up. 1063, where do we sign? Sean writes, John, sign me up. 7588 writes, where do we sign up? A lot of people want to know how they can get a hold of this thing. They're excited about this.
So on this term limit application that we're going to present to the legislature, it's on my website, wethepeople50.com. There's a page on there called Resource Document Page. It's the first page. Download that, and the last page of it is a signature page. Sign it and get it back to me. I will also be setting up, probably through something like MailChimp or something, and having electronic signatures later on, and people will be able to sign electronically. But right now, and I want the listeners out there, print off that signature page. Get your friends and your neighbors to sign with me. Help me out. And we're going to take this to the legislature, whether I'm elected or not, and we're gonna back them in a corner that they can't get out of, that they're going to have to put in place term limits or evidence that they're traitors to the Constitution.
In the minute or so that we have left, John, specific to your race against Farrell Hale, obviously he's got a lot of money. He's got a lot of control over how this goes. What do you say about the voters of that specific district, about what he has or has not done to represent the people, and what you will do better as a senator in District 18?
Well, Senator Hale he's been labeled by the Tennessee Conservative as one of the top 5 rhino senators. And also in 2023 and 2024 rhino reports, Senator Hale has been in there. Most of his money comes from PACs, and he's a pharmacist. He gets campaign contributions from Pfizer, these kind of things. That's who he's working for. He is not working for the people. So for the people in Sumner County, research John Gentry, and you'll know what I'm about, which is about putting the people back in charge and bringing conservative values without this rhino corrupt legislation that's going on down there.
John, as always, I try to remind you how much we appreciate your service to the United States military through your service as a Marine. Thank you. And I think you're providing an incredible service, win or lose, next Tuesday for District 18 and for the entire state of Tennessee. Regardless of what happens next week, I know it's a big hill to climb. You understand that. You're not a dumb man. But regardless of what happens, we're going to have you on repeatedly to try to remind people about how they can address their government and petition for a redress of grievances, because you're so on point that there is an ability for us to kind of take some of this back in Nashville and beyond.
And, you know, that speaks incredibly to your character, Matt, that you see instantly the value of this constitutional right of the people, and that you want to promote that out there and educate the public. So God bless you for that, sir.
I mean, it's all up to us. John, I wish you the best of luck next Tuesday. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for John gave me I'm going to show the folks on the television side a copy of the Constitution of the state of Tennessee, which is very kind, explained, annotated, and
well, it's a book that I wrote explaining our state constitution.
I mean, and I can't wait to dive into that, because I mean that's this is reading for those nights where you can't fall asleep, right, John?
That is reading for when you're sick of a corrupt government and you want to take back control of your government. It's about 10 years of research in that.
Well, one more time real quickly, the website, so folks can get a hold of you.
Yeah, so if you guys just go on We the People, just like it sounds, the letter V is in Victor, and the number 50.com.
John Gentry, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
There's John Gentry back in a moment on The Murphy Show. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy. Savory Spice has 2 locations. Man, oh, man, when I think about food, I think about Savory Spice now, because Holly and David have introduced me to so many great spice